I'm part of 1Track. So I have a question for you, for each of you. Do you ever find yourself having to make a decision, especially about buying something, where you need the opinion or the advice or the input or the approval of somebody else, one other person, a couple of other people? Whether it's buying a house or a car or furniture, clothes, that's the situation that 1Track looks to make real easy and natural to do. So I'm going to spend about 30 seconds before showing the demo, just sort of setting up a sample scenario so you see what it's about. So I've got this fictitious couple, Helen and Bob. If you've seen The Incredibles, you know who they are. Right. And they're looking for a new house, and they're working with a realtor. So the realtor finds a couple of homes, says, hey, here's a couple of things in the neighborhood, the sort of rough range that you're looking at. Are you interested? And Helen says, that first one's out of my price range, but the second one, hey, it's got a view, and that looks really interesting. Bob says, there's this other home that I found on Zillow, and that's real near to the kids' school, so let's look at that one, and it's really nice, close to I-90, so that might fit. So the realtor says, okay, so now there's a couple of homes here that you guys might be interested in, let's figure out when we can see it. This is a normal kind of interaction with the realtor. This happens to us all the time. But it turns out this is kind of not the easiest thing to actually make happen, because there's a whole bunch of phone calls and email messages and links floating around, and people confused. Each person's doing their own web searches because they're not quite sure which property each person's talking about. That should be easy, but it isn't, and that's what we're trying to solve. So I'm going to switch to the to 1Track, and here's just today we have the MVP of 1Track. It's open, and I'd encourage you at the end to actually go take a look at it. Over here, we're looking at a particular track. A track is a thread of conversation, and this track has on it the realtor, Helen, Bob, and these are the participants in the track. And it started out, the realtor created the track, invited Helen, who invited Bob. The realtor tossed in the home. Helen says, over our price range, here's another one. Helen likes the view. Bob says, I found this on Zillow. And the realtor says, okay, it's the same conversation, but it's captured in this thread. But over on the right are the homes they're actually considering. And with each of these homes is some information that 1Track's extracted, the address, the beds, the bathrooms, the square footage, and so on. There's this other home. That's the one with the view. And with each of them, we actually extract some information like the comparable homes, the ones that have sold recently in the area and their prices. Why? Because it helps them make decisions. It helps Bob and Helen decide if they like something or not, and they like it. Actually, this particular home, Helen has indicated that she likes. Now, in this browser, I'm logged in as Bob, just to sort of play the scene out. And so Bob's going to go ask one of his friends for input. He's going to ask Praveen, who's his really good friend, hey, Praveen, what do you think of these homes? So Bob can just invite another person to it. He's going to invite Praveen. I always feature quite prominently in these demos. And Praveen's been added to the track. Now this track is a private track. It's only visible to the people who are being invited to it. Right? I'm going to switch over to a different browser where here I'm Praveen. I'm going to refresh these tracks. It takes a second to do that because I have a large number of tracks. So, right. And I've been invited to the track which is home for Helen and Bob. So let me click on that. Actually, yep. And I see the same homes. I see exactly what they're seeing. But now I can actually go comment on them. I can say, you know what? That one with the view, yes, I really like the view. And I can like it too. Right? And now there's a couple of people who like this. Further, I could actually go the same day, another time. I could be on Zillow looking at other homes and say, aha, here's a home that Bob and Helen might like. And I could add this to the track. So there we have a bookmarklet where we say, well, I'm still Praveen doing this for Bob and Helen. Say, you guys should look at this. You guys might like this. I add it to the track. And I continue. I'm just browsing the web. But now that's been added to the track that Helen and Bob can see. So in the process of just browsing the web, I discovered things that my friends might like. I recommended it to them. It's added to their track, and they can then participate on it. They can vote on it. They can make decisions on it. Right. That's the essence of 1Track.
Can you do private site conversations?
Say it again.
You do private site conversation, where Bob goes off to ask his friend without letting Helen know?
Not at this point. There's a whole bunch of possible things you could branch out to do. But at this point, we're doing an MVP to actually to learn if the basic value of these conversations is meaningful and which domains it's meaningful. And there's a bunch, and if there's we're talking to some realtors right now, for example, so that's sort of a realistic scenario. And if it's really important in that scenario, we could do the branching. So there's a number of things you could do.
So you have to create a separate plugin to extract information from Zillow versus some other site.
Yes, at this point in time, I'm going to show you that we have one for Amazon and one for Zillow. It's relatively easy for us to do. The back end is sort of a relatively easy extension. But the rest of it flows pretty automatically. So we're not doing custom client work for every source of data. I thought it might be interesting to see a few other of the examples that we have. Right? Yep. So we just put together 4 or 5 examples. You saw buying a home. We look at birthday gifts. Birthday gifts, the basic idea is Dash is turning 12. If you see the Incredibles, you know Dash is the son of Helen and Bob. He's turning 12. And Helen wants to find some ideas of gifts because various people want to get gifts for Dash. And so one example is this trombone book. Another one is a tennis racket. There's a Seahawks jersey because Dash lives in Bellevue and really likes the Seahawks. This is he's into animation, and so Blender. There's a book on Blender, which is his animation software. It's all loosely modeled of what my son actually likes. So and you'll notice that with each of these, we're actually pulling out the reviews from Amazon and a bunch of related things. So if one of these things is actually interesting, for example, this is a different animation book, it could just simply be added to whatever the track is, and you can find the track in there. Tennis rackets show additional things that go with tennis rackets. So any of the participants could, in this case the participants are Violet, Bob, and Helen, and they could choose to find some interesting things here and make the choice of what they would like to buy. Going back, let's find a few more examples. Clothes shopping, pretty similar. This is an example. My wife found 4 different clothes. So she said, hey, which one of these things is going to look good? Invited her friend. Her friend provides feedback on each of these. Here's a data source where we've not actually done the extraction yet of the metadata. Right? But it's a very common case in clothes shopping. People want input from their friends. So this is one that we're going to flesh out. Well, it's the sort of majority of the shopping audience, right? So, the book club is another example. It's very different from the other ones because book clubs meet regularly. They constantly have to actually choose between different examples, between different possible choices. Here are 3 or 4 books for this month. Let's pick the book. So here's our track on this. Time to select the next book. This is between Brian, Sachin, myself, and my wife. And this is our sample book club, for the example. We choose this book by Christopher Hitchens as one possibility, another book by Hitchens, a couple of other books, and with each of them we actually get some information, we get the reviews, you can click on those and read them. Here's the idea, instead of actually each person having to do all this research, do Google searches, whatever else, all the relevant information is pulled into the track. It's just this conversation, it's available on the iPhone and it's available on the site. So if somebody wants to do more, they can branch out of it, but the summary is available right there so they can easily converse with each other to make decisions. That's the essence of it. Going back to the presentation, I simply want to get through all this stuff and leave you guys with a request, which is go to 1Track.com, the MVP is up there. Do sign up and try it out. It's really simple to try out. It takes a minute. You start a track and you invite a friend, you add some content to it and see how it works. The next ask is, if it makes sense to you, do use 1Track for real with your coworkers or among other people you know, and give us some feedback. Let us know if it works for you, where it works, where it doesn't work. Questions?
What are your current thoughts on opportunities to monetize?
At the end of the day, so we're focused on making purchase decisions easy. So many of the links are to things that are effectively preventing purchases. So things like links to products on Amazon, it's easy to monetize them through things like affiliate program, which is not the greatest monetization per transaction, if you wish, but it's a transactional model where if you ever get any scale, you can negotiate a better fee than the affiliate fee. So that works for the various e-commerce sites. If you go to things which are not the traditional e-commerce, like real estate or whatever, so you have to develop another model. We're just sort of reasonably confident that if you're enabling transactions to occur, if you're enabling it, there's well-established mechanisms to actually monetize. So our focus right now is actually figure out which domains or niches really started to actually deliver true value. And once we can deliver value, extracting monetization should follow a pretty standard mechanism. For example, with brokers, you should be able to have some kind of freemium model where the brokers are paying you something.
What is your competition?
So first of all, if we've done some surveys of people, and if you ask the question, how do you actually get input from other people? The 80% of the time input isn't taken. Even though you have to put they want to, but most of the time they don't because the friction is too high. Where input is provided is primarily in person, and followed by over the phone, followed by email. Email is like 3.9% of all transactions is where people get feedback from somebody by email. Right? That's not generally all transactions, all purchases. It's probably higher in things like real estate. In real estate, individual links are mailed around by realtors through specialized applications that emulate email. Right? So it's a lot of email. So you're typically competing with email. In the closed case, you're competing with IM or people making phone calls. Now, there's a bunch of startups that are trying to do similar things. Many of them are social rather than what we think of ourselves as intra-social. We're having private subsets of your social graph to have conversations with. Most of the startups in this space are doing similar things as in social conversational threads. There's something called Branch. There's one called Yaply, which tries to make decisions. There's a few others, and they're all largely, they're not intrasocial. There's a couple that are intrasocial, but they're also very early stage.
What about recommendation agents?
So if you look at social shopping, that's a huge space. There's a large number of people in social shopping. People look at, I need to give a gift to my Facebook friend, what do you recommend for their Facebook activity, for example. There's a large number of them. Somewhere I have a whole slide that lays out the different. So social shopping is the social deals, social recommendations, and all of that. So we're sort of trying to we think of our competition as people who focus on conversational metaphor, which is a very natural metaphor for people to engage, and intrasocial. And what's a little unique about what we're doing is none of the other things we've seen are actually doing this augmentation of the conversation with an agent service that's actually retrieving the data, providing suggestions, and so on.
I was going to say, so with this WP, how do you think you specialize or differentiate yourself enough from like Evernote has boards and sharing and conversations, and so does Clipboard.com for the more web-based?
Sure. Right. We're consciously not a board. Right?
Yeah, somebody shares something, and then there's a conversation about which do I choose.
Yes.
There's a scenario both of those services put on their
Yeah, the fact of the matter is, you could implement one of these, say, Facebook messaging. You could. You could implement it with any mechanism that allows you to have a board, private, and then comments.
Yeah.
Right?
So do you think the primary value add is the pulling the data from the common shopping areas and then the selection piece of it with the voting? So sort of adding a 99 designs, should help me choose my logo plus the data you're pulling.
We think of it as each one of these threads or tracks has discovery, discussion, and decision. And if you look at any of the other solutions that are out there, they're typically heavy on one and light on the others. Pinterest is heavy on discovery, not so good on the discussion, and not at all on the decision. Right? And so so that's what we think, when it comes to shopping, in particular, shopping decisions, you need that combination. We're trying to put it together in a way that actually works. We don't believe that it works perfectly right now. It's just, that's why it's an MVP. We learn what works and what needs to be polished.
I think there's a price point where people say less than